Hello, welcome to our session. Today we'll be discussing the most probable questions from the human health and diseases chapter. Okay, second year chapter number 8 of NCRT, which is the human disease. Okay, we'll be going to the question number 1 on the board. Match the following. See, match the following type of questions are very, very important. They are of different types. Sometimes in first column will be given less number, and in second column will be given more number. Sometimes you may be very lucky enough. Sometimes you are not lucky enough. Okay, I will give you the technique how you will be answering this one. Common cold, that is because of rhinoviruses, viruses that affect our rhinitis. That is called rhinitis. Common cold is called rhinitis, inflammation on renal membrane. Okay, so it is rhinoviruses. So it is 1Q. You are not lucky. Okay, you are having 4 options which are all 1Q. So that will not be helping you. Pneumonia. What is pneumonia? Haemophilus influenzae, bacterial disease affecting the upper respiratory tract as well as the lung alveoli. Bacteria which is affecting the alveoli, Haemophilus influenzae. Okay. Typhoid, very common one. Typhoid is caused by Salmonella typhi. It's very simple for you. So you are having 3P. You can see there are 3 options. It is not easy for you. Then Gambia fever. This Gambia fever is caused by the Trypanosoma gambiense, Gambian fever. Simply, we can also call it as sleeping sickness. When I use that term, it will be very clear to you. Sleeping sickness. When this flagellated protozoan is in the blood, it causes Gambian fever. But when it invades and enter into the cerebrospinal fluid, that will be causing the patient become unconscious. He'll be entering into a long sleep, unconscious condition. That is called the sleeping sickness. Okay, so that is a severe condition caused by the Trypanosoma gambiense. It's a flagellated protozoan. We are studying this Trypanosoma in the first year chapters. Okay, this is having a nucleus. The most important feature is that it is having a flagellum that arises from a posterior part and is forming 2 parts. Up to the anterior end, it is forming an undulating membrane, and this is the free flagellum. From the anterior end onwards, it is free, but up to that, it forms an undulating membrane that will be helping them to move easy through the fluids because it is moving on either side, just like a membrane. The plasma membrane of the animal is in contact with the flagellum and forming a wavy structure. So it's called undulating membrane. That is characteristic of Trypanosoma. It's a digenetic parasite. The vector is fly. Okay. Glossina palpalis. The flagellated protozoan, digenetic parasite. Clear? Gambia fever. So, trypanosoma gambiense. And filariasis, filarial, that is elephantiasis, simply caused by trypanosoma bancroft, sorry, by Wuchereria bankruptcy or Wuchereria malai. In India, in Kerala, this Wuchereria malai is also very common. Okay, so we have to be very careful in such match the following questions. Sometimes you may be lucky, sometimes you may have to go through all the options, then come to the right answer. Okay, so here it is doll. We may have different types of match the following, and this is one where you have to go through every option correctly. Regarding innate immunity, what is innate? Inborn, right from our birth. It is non-specific, it is general, that is why it is called non-specific. It is not against a particular pathogen or not against a particular disease. It is present at the time of birth. It is accomplished by providing 4 types of barriers that try to prevent the entry of pathogen into your body: physical, physiological, cytological, and cytokine barriers. 4 types of barriers, correct. It can recognize and specifically eliminate foreign microbes. No, it is not at all against any particular pathogen. It is general. It is non-specific. Okay. It is available by virtue of the genetic makeup. The genetics, the genetical makeup of an individual plays an important role. That is why in some persons immunity is very high, whereas in others immunity will be very low because of the difference in the genetical makeup. So the genes have an important role in determining the intensity of that innate mechanism. All of us are having innate mechanisms, but how much that is effective, that will be different. Clear? So it can recognize is wrong, whereas it is available by virtue of, by the nature of our genes. That is very important. Okay. So all except 4 is the correct answer. Remember, this chapter is one of the longest chapters, biggest chapters in our NCERT, as well as anything can be asked. Even current topics can be included in human health and diseases. So you should be very much updated regarding human health and immunity disorders. Okay. Which one is true regarding antibody? This is a simple monomer of an antibody. Antibody molecule has 4 polypeptide chains, a total of 4. 2 are heavy, so we call it as 2 heavy, 2 light. 2 small chains called light chains, 2 longer chains called heavy chains, correct? The constant region of antibody, see, this is the variable part. So we call it as variable of heavy and variable of light chain. The other part is constant. Constant of light, constant of heavy 1, constant of heavy 2, constant of heavy 3. These are all the 3 components of the heavy or long chain. Constant region of antibody is having antigen binding site. The antigen binding site is on the variable part. This is the N terminal. And this is the C terminal, COH terminal. See, a polypeptide chain will be having an N terminal and a C terminal. It is the N terminal where we are having highly variable amino acids that constitute the variable. So variable of the heavy and variable of the light chain has the antigen binding site. The antigen binding site is called paratrope. It is made up of the variable, not constant. So that is wrong. For intra-disulfide linkages, okay, 1 correct, 2 correct, 3 correct, 4. So we are having 4 intra-disulfide linkages are present on the heavy chain and one with variable and heavy. See, we are having one between 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, between them, within intra, and between the heavy and the light chain where there is also disulfide bonds, correct. Allergic responses are evoked by IgE type epsilon chain. See, we are classifying based upon the heavy chain. This part is the variable part and this is the constant part. So the heavy chain are of different category. Based upon that, we are all classifying into 5 categories. So IgE, epsilon chain, allergic responses, correct. IgA, present in colostrum, provide passive immunity to newborn. It is natural and passive. The baby is getting it by a natural mechanism and it is produced by the mother, given to the baby immediately after delivery. So postpartum. Okay. So postnatal. It is also called postnatal. That is also correct. Through the colostrum. Prenatal, through the placenta, the baby is getting. It is IgG. This is IgA. IgA. Prenatal by IgG. Only this immunoglobulin can cross placenta. IgA is a dimer. It cannot cross the placenta. That's why it is to be given through the secretory. It is secretory antibody. Secretory antibody. So through the body fluids like tear, saliva, it is secreted and coming out. Through the colostrum also it is given. Okay. See, the paratop is complementary to, see, this is of this category. And it is having a complementary chain or complementary part in the antibodies. This is paratop in the antibodies. Antigen will be having a counterpart. So for example, this is complementary to this one. This is epitop. So there is complementarity between paratop and epitop. That's why an antigen is working against, or an antibody will be countered by a particular type of antibody. Antigen antibody specificity is because of that epitop paratop complementarity. Okay, so they will be recognizing a particular type of antigen because of this paratop epitop complementarity is responsible for the specificity. That's why a particular type of antigen will be counted by a particular type of antibody only. It is a variable part of both heavy and light chain that is responsible for the paratop, that is highly variable, that is highly different. That's why we are all having so many thousands and thousands of different types of antibodies which can recognize a particular type of antigen. So antigen is having the epitop, this is an antigen, and antibody is having a paratop. The antigen antibody counteraction, the specificity is because of the paratop epitop complementarity. Is that clear? This is because of the variable part of both heavy and light chains. That's a very good question. Then thymus, the second primary immunological organ. We are having only two primary immunological organs in our body. One is the bone marrow cells. Second one is thymus. These are the primary organs. Thymus is a bilobed. It's a bilobed lobed organ located near the heart. It is correctly ventral to the heart and the aorta, and dorsal to the sternum, that is the breastbone. That's a correct statement. It is quite small at the time of birth and keep increasing in size. Now it will be reaching its maximum size at the time of puberty. Thereafter, it is declining and completely disappearing at the age of 50. That's why old people are having less immunity. So, it is keeping on increasing in size with age is a wrong statement. Okay? So, after attaining puberty, it starts its decline. It provides microenvironment for the development and maturation of B cells. See, thymosin is the hormone produced by the thymus and is essential for the maturation of T, not B. B cells are maturing in bone marrow itself and T cells are maturing here. It is called the throne of immunity. It is the training school of T lymphocytes. It is favoring the maturation of T cells and provide the environment for the maturation of B cells. Okay. It is called the throne of immunity. Immature lymphocytes differentiate into antigen-sensitive lymphocytes. See, T cells and B cells are all maturing in an organ which is called primary lymphoid organ. What is the definition for a primary lymphoid organ? Where the immunologically competent cells, we are having T cells and B cells. They are all developing and maturing. Immature lymphocytes differentiate into antigen-sensitive lymphocytes. They are all maturing. That's how they become mature. See, the primary lymphoid organ, that is T cells and B cells, thymus and bone marrow are our primary immunological cells or immunological organs, where the primary site where they are all becoming mature. The lymphocytes are becoming mature. What is maturation? They attain the receptors. Now, once they have the receptors, through the receptors, they are all capable of recognizing. That's how an antibody is recognizing a specific type of antigen through the receptors, antigen-sensitive lymphocytes. These receptors are received in the primary lymphocyte, that is the primary lymphoid organs like T cells and B cells. So, immature lymphocytes are differentiating into, that's a correct one, because they are all primary. Thymus is a primary. Okay, so 2 and 3 are not correct, all others are correct. Why? 5 is correct. Immature lymphocytes are differentiating into antigen sensitive, that is maturation. Now they have the maturity. They can recognize a specific type of lymphocyte. They are all now antigen sensitive because now they are having receptors. These receptors are obtained in the primary lymphoid organ. Thymus is a primary lymphoid organ. Clear? So that is a correct one. So 2 and 3 are wrong. So the option is clear. Now select the incorrect match. We are all having the diagrams which are all from our NCRT. This is the poppy plant with the flower. Okay, and this is the cannabis sativa, ganja plant, hemp plant. This is Papaver somniferum. Okay, hemp plant. Hemp plant is cannabis, and poppy plant is Papaver somniferum. So these are all mutually changed. Coca plant is Erythrocylon coca, correct. Ergot fungus is Clavis purpurea, is a fungus belonging to the Ascomycetes. Peyote cactus, it's a cactus. Lophophora williamsi. It is not in our books. In our NCRT book, it is not given. Lophophora williamsi, from where we get Lophophora, a hallucinating agent, and Mexican mushroom psilocybin is obtained from Psilocybe mexicana. Okay, so the 4 are correct, 1 and 2 are the wrong one. This is a poppy plant. Okay, that is a correct one. Poppy plant, Papaver somniferum, is not a hemp plant, it is poppy plant. Cannabis sativa is the hemp plant. Ganja plant, commonly called as ganja plant. So these 2 are all the wrong ones. See, another type of match the following, where you are having 3 in the first set and large number of options in the second one. So there is likely to have more than one option in the second one. Hypersensitivity. We are having allergic responses, hypersensitive. Your body is showing what is needed and more hypersensitivity. Anaphylactic responses. So asthma, allergic responses. This allergy is overreaction of our body to some agents. So hypersensitivity is this one. You understand? Any other options? We will go through that. Then autoimmune disease, of course, will be having a number of options. Multiple sclerosis, myasthenia gravis. We have studied myasthenia gravis is an autoimmune disease because of a defect in our neuromyonal junction. In multiple sclerosis, the myelin sheath of axons are all affected, so that it will be affecting the functioning of different organs. AIDS is an immunodeficiency disease. Hashimoto's, it is an autoimmune disease. Hashimoto's is called suicide of thyroid, where our own antibodies are all activating our thyroid glands, and that is resulting in the gradual decay of or destruction of thyroid. That is called the suicide of thyroid, Hashimoto's disease. So Hashimoto's is a autoimmune disease. Graves' disease, it is also affecting our thyroid, but the real reason is different. Our antibodies are mimicking thyroid stimulating hormone TSH. It is a clear case of molecular mimicry. Our antibodies are all mimicking thyroid stimulating hormone. So the symptom will be just like over secretion of thyroid stimulating hormone. So the thyroid become enlarged and will produce more thyroxines. The thyroid become hyperactive. So it is exophthalmic goiter. symptoms produced will be similar to that of the exophthalmic goiter. It is called Graves' disease. Rheumatoid arthritis, where our own antibodies are all affecting the sinuses or the synovial joints, and Pannus granules are all produced. This Pannus granules will be destructing or destroying the cartilaginous caps and will be causing rheumatoid arthritis. Joints become very painful. That's called rheumatoid arthritis. Severe combined immunodeficiency. It is, sorry, second one. It is severe combined immunodeficiency. Ashanti De Silva will be studying in next coming chapters, where combined immunodeficiency, it is an immunodeficiency just like AIDS. So asthma is the only one, whereas Q, R, T, U, W are all autoimmune diseases. Immunodeficiency, because of a defect in our immunological system, will be having AIDS, SID, etc. So S and X. Clear? So the option clearly is box. So in such questions, you will be requiring more attention because there are a number of options for each of them. Okay. IgA. It is a dimer. It is the only dimer type of antibody produced by our body. It is called secretory immunoglobulins. That is why it is called copro antibody. It is secreted through the feces also. It is coming through the saliva, tear, etc. And it is the second most abundant. 10 to 15% of immunoglobulins are belonging to this category. The most abundant one is IgG. 75 to 80% are belonging to this category. So IgA is found in mucous area. They are all important for, or they are all against ingested and inhaled pathogens. They are acting against ingested, that is taken through the food, or inhaled through our breathing. So a baby start feeding by mouth or breathing by its lungs only after delivery. That is why this is to be given only after delivery, immediately after delivery, post-natal. Ingested and inhaled pathogen such as gut and respiratory tract, urinogenital tract, and prevent colonization by pathogen found in saliva, tear, and breast milk. They are secretory. IgA, that is the clear quality of IgA. It's a dimer. Okay. Second most abundant, secreted through our body secretions. Function mainly as an antigen receptor of B cells that is not been exposed to antigen, no. Binds to allergens, IgE, only antibody capable of crossing the placenta, IgG, expressed on the surface of B cells, IgM. So cornea transplantation, that is simply called as eye donation. After that, the cornea is taken within hours and transplanted to anybody. Why? Because cornea is avascular, no vascular blood supply. Lens and cornea are avascular structures. So it can be taken from a dead man, can be given within few hours of his death, because it is not at all having blood supply, so it is having no immunological response. So it can be given to anybody. See, normally we have to check whether they are all compatible or matching. Then only we can take the organ and give it to another one receptor. But here, there is no such matching required because cornea is having no blood supply. So, no immunological responses. Antigen antibody reaction will not be occurring. That is why it is non-vascular. Disease that are transmitted through insect vectors. So, typhoid. Typhoid is carried by water, contaminated method. Cholera by water, not by an agent. Contaminated method. Ascariasis, direct. So through food and water, contaminative method. Malaria is a parasite, cholera not by a agent. Plague. Plague is through a vector, synopsilla, rat, flea. Measles is a virus directly, mumps directly. Malaria, that is transmitted through the vector. Agent is the Anopheles. Filariasis by the mosquito, Culex, and sleeping sickness, that is Trypanosoma gambiense, through the sese fly. So that's a typical example where all of them are through an agent. So agent is injecting it into human beings. It is called inoculative type. Such a type of infection is called inoculative. Agent is injecting into our body. Leprosy, it is by contact. Plague and malaria, of course, plague is by synopsilla, rat flea, and malaria with the help of the Anopheles mosquito. Okay, so leprosy is by contact. Incorrect statement. Cell-mediated immune response. That is called CMI, cell-mediated immunity, is responsible for graft rejection. That is why after receiving a graft, an organ from another one, you may have to take immunosuppressive medicines. Otherwise, sometimes your own body will be producing antibodies which will be causing its rejection. Okay. Acquired immunity is pathogen specific. It is against a specific. Innate is general. It is not against a pathogen. But acquired is against a specific pathogen, because it is because of that infection that we are acquiring that immunity. So it is against that pathogen only. Acquired immunity is pathogen specific. When body encounters a pathogen for the first time, it results in primary response. Primary response is slow and weak. That's why very often we'll be becoming sick. We will fall sick. Whereas when the same pathogen attack for a second time, our body is having memory. That memory is the most important feature of acquired immunity. Okay, and because of that, body remembers and produces antibodies. So antibodies are very strongly produced in quick short time, so that the antibody titer will be very, very high, and the secondary infection will be making our body to respond very quickly and strongly. Anamnestic response. Secondary response is very quick and strong. Okay. So this part is correct. Interferons are produced by all cells. Now, only when a virus is getting entry into a cell, that virus infected cell alone is producing some warning proteins, communicating proteins. They are called cytokines. Okay, so interferons are all produced by cells that are infected by that virus, by any pathogen. No. Antibodies are proteins which are also known as immunoglobulins. They are all involved in immunity. They are globular proteins. That is why it is called immunoglobulins. Correct. Natural passive immunity. That is, it is produced as a natural mechanism by some other organism, and we are all getting. The two natural passive immunity is the IgG that we are all obtaining from mother when we are all fetus through placenta. Second one is IgA through the colostrum. Mother is producing, and as a natural mechanism, we are all getting it. Okay. So injection of antivenom against snake, it is artificial. We are deliberately introducing it, not a natural mechanism. It is passive, that we agree, but it is artificial. IgG, providing immunity for the developing fetus through the placenta, correct. Colostrum, correct. Mother's milk. Naturally, we are all getting it from mother. Infectious organisms gain access to the body during natural infection. That is natural and active. That is why we become immune to the same pathogen. Okay, so when you are having chicken pox, you will get the immunity and that will be remaining in the body for your life. So the same pathogen will never enter you. That is natural and active immunity. Antigenic protein of pathogen, weak and inactivated pathogens are introduced in the body. This is the principle in vaccination. A weakened, very low dose of the pathogen is introduced into your body. Okay, that is artificial, so that your body start producing antibodies. So it is active. Your body is actively involved. So it is artificial active. This is the principle of vaccination. Okay, vaccination is artificial active. So here the question is, what are passive immunity? Only these two, B and C. Clear? Then, incorrect statement regarding drug and alcohol abuse. Let us see. Dependence is a tendency of the body to manifest a characteristic and unpleasant, not pleasant. It is unpleasant. These symptoms are not at all happy scenes. It will create unhappy scenes, unpleasant scenes. The immediate adverse effect of drug and alcohol abuse are manifest in the form of reckless behavior, vandalism, and violence. Correct. Addiction is a physiological attachment. No, it is a psychological attachment, not physiological. It is only a psychological, mental attachment. That is called addiction, mental attachment, psychological. Excessive doses of drug may lead to coma and death due to respiratory failure, heart failure, or cerebral hemorrhage. Correct. Chronic use of drug and alcohol damage nervous system and liver. Correct. So the wrong ones are, incorrect ones are A and C. A and C. So the option is elephant. Then Rh antibodies, which will be filtered from mother to baby, causing erythroblastosis fetalis, nowadays called the hemolytic disease of the newborn, or HDN, hemolytic disease of the newborn. This is because of Rh antibodies. Rh antibody can cross. Why? Because they belong to IgG. Only IgG category can. They are all monomers. They can pass through. Okay. Not all are crossing the placenta. This IgG alone can cross. And ABO blood group, Rh antibodies are belong to the IgG category, whereas anti-N and anti-B belong to IgM, which can never cross. They are the largest. They are all pentamers. Okay, IgM. They are all belong to IgM. It's a very good question. This can cross, whereas ABO. That's why ABO antibody never show any incompatibility problem, because this antibody can never cross the placenta. They are the heaviest. Then infectious stage of Plasmodium that enter the human body. See, it is what stage they are all entering. If it is entering, it is at the sporozoid stage. The sporozoids produced by sporogony. What is sporogony? Multiple fission after sexual reproduction. That is, zygote is undergoing multiple fission and producing sporozoid that is entering into the mosquitoes or injecting them. Okay. And it is at that sporozoid stage that they are all entering. Male and female gametocytes are developing within the mosquito epithelium intestine. And trophozoites are stages which are all growing within the RBC of human beings. So the infectious stage is sporozoid. Then causative organism and correct option. Typhoid. We know that typhoid is caused by Salmonella typhi. Now you are all very lucky this time because we know A is 3 and there is only one option. Immediately we can go. But remember, you will not always be lucky that time. Always. This time you are all lucky. So A is 3. And pneumonia. Pneumonia is caused by Haemophilus pneumoniae. Filariasis is caused by Wuchereria, bankruptcy or Wuchereria malaria, and malaria, plasmodium. Even if you don't know this one, everybody will be definitely knowing plasmodia. Sorry, the malaria is caused by plasmodium. So 4 is 2. You look for that. D. There is only one option where there is 2. So even if you don't know these answers, by this one you will be coming. So you are all lucky this time, double lucky this time. You use this technique, okay, so that immediately you can come to the answer and you can save a lot of time for other difficult or long questions. Wrong statement with reference to immunity. When ready-made antibodies are directly given, it is called passive immunity. That is why we are all taking TT, tetanus toxoid, or the snake venom. Correct, passive immunity. Active immunity. Excuse me. Active immunity is quick and gives full response. See, active immunity is slow. That's why we are all preparing and taking already prepared, ready-made antibodies from other sources. It is slow. See, we cannot wait for our body to produce antibodies because it is slow process. Active immunity is slow. Fetus receives some antibodies from mother. Yes, it is a typical example for passive immunity. It is receiving Ig, G, and IgA. Fetus is actually receiving IgG. IgA is only after delivery. It is not fetus, a fully developed one. When exposed to antigen, living or dead, antibodies are produced in the host body. It is called active immunity as our body is actively involved in the production. So it's called active. It is a typical example for natural and active. You are all exposed to. When exposed to antigen, which is either living or dead. When it is dead, it may be introduced to you during vaccination. Okay, so live, very weakened or dead, antibodies are introduced into your body so that your body starts producing antibodies and you become immune to such disease. That is the principle involved in vaccination. Correct. So only 2 is the wrong one. Which of the following diseases is caused by a protozoan? Blastomycosis. Myco means fungus. It's a fungus. Blastomyces. Spores are inhaled and it will cause some flu-like symptoms. And syphilis, we studied, it is a STD caused by a bacterium. Treponema pallidum. Influenza, again caused by viruses. Babesiosis. Babesia is a protozoan that is spread by ticks, deer ticks, and affects RBCs. Such diseases are called pyroplasms. See, malaria, plasmodium is also affecting our RBCs. They are growing within the RBCs. This is also growing in RBCs. So, babesiosis is a disease caused by Babesia that is infecting our RBCs that are spread by deer ticks. Okay, ticks that are growing on deer. So, this is a protozoan disease, babesiosis. If you suspect major deficiency in antibiotics, see, you are having some defect and it is because of a deficiency in antibodies. then to which part you should look into? See, antibodies are immunoglobulins. There are globular proteins. So we have to look into our immunoglobulin. Antibodies are immunoglobulins. There are globular proteins. And we have to look into our serum globulins. Globulins are globular proteins. Immunoglobulin is globulins which are all involved in immunity. So we have to look into that part, immunoglobulins. Okay, serum immunoglobulins, globulins. And we have to look into that part, whether there is a deficiency. There is a constant proportion of immunoglobulins. Usually, immunoglobulins will be 0.3% in our body. Okay, if there is any deficiency, that will be reflected in the proportion. Which of the following immunoglobulin does constitute the largest percentage? Among the immunoglobulin, 70 to 75% is constituted by IgA. Okay, IgA is the most abundant. Second most abundant is IgG. See, there's a small correction that we have to make. Which of the following immunoglobulins does constitute the largest percentage in human milk? It is human milk. So in human milk, through the milk, IgA is coming. The largest immunoglobulin present in our body, that is 70 to 75% is the one which is transferred through the placenta, IgG. IgA constitutes second largest, 15% up to 15%. But here the question is percentage in human milk. So in human milk, IgA is the most abundant. Most abundant. It is secreted through the milk, through the colostrum, and given to the baby. Okay. Which of the following is correct regarding AIDS causative agent HIV? So AIDS is caused by a retrovirus. What is a retrovirus? Retrovirus is the RNA virus. But remember, all RNA viruses are not retroviruses. All retroviruses are RNA viruses. They are all RNA viruses. They are having two identical molecules of RNA and also two molecules of reverse transcriptase enzyme. This is the reverse transcriptase enzyme. That is RNA dependent DNA molecule. And HIV is undeveloped retrovirus. No, they are all highly specialized. They are all retroviruses. Why they are called retroviruses? Because from this RNA, they can produce DNA. From RNA, DNA is produced. That's why it's called retroviruses. HIV does not escape but attack the acquired immune responses. They escape from cells and enter into new cells. HIV is enveloped virus containing one molecule of single-stranded RNA. No, they are having two same type. Okay, they are not complementary type of RNA, same type of RNA, and they are all remaining as two separate ones. Single-stranded RNA molecules which are all identical. HIV is enveloped virus that contain two identical molecules of, correct, two identical molecules of single-stranded RNA and two molecules of reverse transcriptase enzyme. You are having a capsule. That capsule is having an inner capsid made up of P24 and an outer capsid made up of P17 type of proteins. Okay, P17 is the outer, P24 is the inner. And you are having a bimolecular layer of lipid that forms the envelope, and arising from that bimolecular layer of envelope, you are having some spike proteins. Spike proteins are having GP41 in its stalk and GP120 on its head. That is the structure of the retrovirus. Okay, so AIDS retrovirus. That is the structure. Details are not in our Which of the following set of diseases is caused by bacteria? Tetanus, correct. Mumps virus. Okay. Herpes virus, influenza virus, both of them are virus. Cholera, we are having Vibrio cholerae bacteria, and tetanus caused by Clostridium tetani. Clostridium tetani, both of them are bacteria. The disease is commonly called as lockjaw. That was asked in one of the earlier examinations. Lockjaw. Salmonella typhi. That is the typhoid. It's a bacterium, but smallpox is a virus. Cholera is caused by Vibrio cholerae. Okay, so that is the pair. Transplantation of tissues or organs fail used to. So when you are receiving a graft from another organism or another individual, we should be observing whether they are compatible or not. If it is not compatible, our antibody will be rejecting. That graft rejection, that's called graft rejection, is mainly because of cell-mediated immunity, cytotoxic cells. Cytotoxic helper T cells are responsible for that, and cell-mediated immune response is responsible for graft rejection. That is why after receiving a graft, we have to have immunosuppressants given to cyclosporin A. Immunosuppressants like cyclosporin A should be given to such patients, so that his immunological responses will not be letting that graft to be rejected out. Graft rejection is because of the cytotoxic T cells. Okay, cytotoxic T cells, cell-mediated immune response. MALT, mucus-associated lymphoid tissue. They will be constituting about 50%, actually more than 50% of our lymphoid tissue is because of the MALT present on the lymphoid tissue in our body. That is 50%, more than 50%. They are associated with the respiratory tract, alimentary tract, and urinogenital tract. Which part of poppy plant is used? This is the poppy plant, and it is obtained from the resin before the flowers are becoming the pod, unripe pod. They are taken, their latex. So brown sugar, SMAC is the brown sugar. It is diacetyl morphine. It is obtained from poppy. It is diacetyl morphine. It is from the latex, from the unripe pod. Which disease does mosquito transmit pathogen cause chronic inflammation of lymphatic vessels? See, they are all living on the lymphatic vessels, causing elephantiasis. Elephantiasis is caused by Wuchereria bancrofti or Wuchereria malayi. And ringworm disease is caused by, this is the ringworm trouble, caused by the fungus, Caletotrichum. Ascaris is caused by Ascaris, and amoebiasis is caused by Endamoeba. Okay, so elephantiasis is the problem. Wuchereria. Which of the following is not an autoimmune disease? Alzheimer's is because of the deposit of amyloid plaques, a protein. Amyloid plaques, based especially in the substantia nigra part of our brain. Alzheimer's, amyloid plaques. Rheumatoid arthritis, our own antibodies are all causing the production of certain granules, okay, Panus granules, and causing the degeneration of the cartilaginous caps. So rheumatoid arthritis causing the joints to become very painful and immovable. psoriasis and vitiligo are all also skin diseases caused by our own antibodies. They are all autoimmune diseases. But Alzheimer's is not an autoimmune disease. Due to increasing airborne allergens and pollutants, many people in urban areas are suffering from respiratory disorder causing wheezing, difficulty in breathing. We will be wheezing. Why? Because of the inflammation of bronchi and bronchioles, we may have wheezing problems, difficulty in breathing. Okay, it is because of allergies. Proliferation of fibrous tissue and damage of alveoli, that is emphysema, reduction in secretion of surfactants by pneumocytes, that will be causing collapse of the alveoli, that is called atelectasis. Benign growth of mucus lining, it's like benign growth, cancerous growth on the lining of nasal cavity. It is not because of the allergens. So it is inflammation of bronchi and bronchioles. Simply we call it as bronchitis. Identify the correct pair representing the causative agent of typhoid fever. Okay, typhoid fever is Salmonella typhi and can be detected by Vidal test. Streptococcus pneumoniae causing pneumonia. It is not detected by Vidal test, so that is wrong. Anthron test. Anthron test is a test for detecting polysaccharides. It is an aromatic tricyclic ketone. It is done for making cellulose assay, also used in calorimetric determination of carbohydrate. It is a test for detecting, estimating carbohydrates. Okay, that is Anthron test. And Plasmodium vivax. Plasmodium vivax is causing the malaria, not typhoid fever. UTA test. UTA test is urinary tract infection. Which of the following immune response is responsible for the rejection of kidneys and graft? I told you, graft rejection. Graft rejection is always because of cell-mediated immunological responses. It is cytotoxic, cell-mediated immunity. Cytotoxic cells are responsible for, T cells are responsible for such a type of graft rejection. Okay? Cell-mediated immune response. That's why we have to be very choosy, and in graft receiving, we may have to receive it in the order, increase in the decreasing order of preference, either from our own twins. Okay, so it is not possible sometimes in the case of bypass, we may take a vein from our own body. It is called autograft. But for kidney, etc., it is not possible because our own kidneys are all damaged, then only we are all receiving. So we can have an allograft from a twin. Okay, if it is not possible, it is allograft from another man. And if not possible from the same species, you have to get it from a another species, xenograft. We are now producing pigs, which are all having surface antigens of human beings. We are all preparing such pigs, genetically modified pigs. We are all making them to have human surface antigen as that of human beings and taking organs from that animal, liver, pancreas, etc. from animals. This is called xenograft. If it is taken from a different genus, it is called xenograft. So this should be the order. If it is from the same individual, there is no problem. Autograft from our own individual, or allograft from an allelic, a twin brother or a sister, or a close relative, allograft or a xenograft. And coming to the last question, drug called heroin. It is diacetyl morphine. So it is obtained by the acetylation of morphine, which is obtained from the poppy plant. So glycosylation of morphine, no. Diacetyl, acetylation of morphine. Nitration of morphine, methylation of morphine, no. It is diacetyl. So it is called diacetyl morphine. It is the brown sugar, heroin, brown. It is neither brown or sugary in taste. It is a white crystal, not brown, and bitter to taste. So it's a misnomer. Brown sugar is a misnomer, actually. And with that, we come to the conclusion of the 30 questions from the chapter Human Health and Diseases. Hope you have got a number of important points from this chapter, understood the types of questions that you can expect from the chapter, and what are the thrust areas where you have to concentrate on. Okay, that is the effectiveness of these types of question discussions. And with this, we are coming to the conclusion of the discussion of the most probable question from this chapter, Human Health and Disease. I am winding up my session and will be meeting you with another set of questions from the next chapters. Until then, goodbye all of you. So thank you all. Thank you very much.